when you cook like Mama did, you get to eat like Mama did too. And that's even a better thing. Hey y'all, it's Tammy with Collard Valley Cooks. And I decided it is finally time to make a wonderful biscuit video for you biscuit lovers. This is going to be up close and personal, and I think y'all are really going to enjoy it. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to take an iron skillet and we're going to place it on the stove top to preheat while we mix up our biscuits. And just put it on, I have a gas stove, so it's instant for me. So just make sure if you have an electric stove, you might want to start that just a tad earlier because it doesn't take long to mix up biscuits. We're going to use self-rising flour. For those of you who use plain flour, you would have to add your baking soda, powder, and salt. But using self-rising flour, I just go ahead and get my 2 cups of flour. Now this flour is pretty lumpy. For some reason, it just probably wasn't stored in a great place. So I'm actually going to sift this flour. If you've got flour that's not lumpy, you don't have to sift it. But I'm telling you, it will make a fluffier biscuit if you do, okay? So I'm going to place this in my bowl, and I'm actually going to use a 1/4 teaspoon of soda. And we're going to sift this into a bowl. I like to use these Pyrex bowls because they are perfect to blend your shortening into your flour. The shape of them makes it so much easier to blend with my blending fork, and I'll show you what I'm talking about when we get down to that point. Now, when you're finished sifting, if your flour is lumpy, you're going to see lumps of flour down in the bottom of your sifter. And I'm just going to take my hand and press them through the bottom. In this, all I'm adding is a 1/4 teaspoon of soda with 2 cups of self-rising flour. Now, you're going to take out your shortening. And you're going to use a 1/4 cup is all you're going to use. You're going to place it in the bowl. And then you're going to use what we call a blending fork. It's wonderful. And you're going to press the flour and shortening together with your blending fork. Now the reason I like this bowl is because when you're pressing the flour into the sides of the bowl, you can see that it's just the perfect shape for my blending fork to blend the shortening into the flour. Continue to blend the shortening into the flour by pressing it against the sides of the bowl with the blending fork. The great thing about a blending fork is it doesn't get stuck in there. It just continues to blend the shortening in. It's way better than a pastry blender. Now, for your shortening, you're just going to want it in about pea-sized pieces. So do not get it too small, and really that's enough. It doesn't take but probably about 60 seconds really to get it like you need it, okay? So once that is done, is putting in the buttermilk. We're going to use about a cup of buttermilk. And this is whole buttermilk. Now, if you use a thinner buttermilk, it may take a little more. You just have to use your judgment. But I put it in. Now, you usually leave a little bit in the bottom just in case. Then I take my blending fork and I blend the milk into the flour with the blending fork. Now, all you want it to do is be just enough to wet all of the flour to make it stick to the dough. And you can see that right here that I've still got a little flour in the bottom. So you're just going to add the liquid until it's perfect. So even if I give you a recipe like in our Collard Valley Cooks recipe book, you should still follow this step when you're making dumplings or biscuits or anything. Now you can see, mainly because the different liquids are different consistencies. Now you can see it's all stuck together. It looks great. So now we're going to lightly flour our surface. And I usually use about a 1/2 cup of flour before it's over. And we're going to flour the surface. Okay, once you flour the surface, you can take your dough, put it out on top of your floured surface. And your bowl should look about like that. And we're going to dust it on the top with some flour. And now the fun part, you get to fold this over at least 7 or 8 times, preferably 10. Okay, so there's 3, 4, 5. Whew. And you just kind of lightly flour as you go if you need to, if it sticks to your hands. That's 6 and 7. That's 8 or 9, you may as well say. And that's about right, y'all. So we're just going to fold it over and start cutting them out. You're going to press it down about a 1/2 inch and use your biscuit cutter. Now we're just going to cut the biscuits out. Set them aside because we're preheating our skillet, so we're going to put them all in there at one time. And you're just going to fold it over and get it nice and flat again. Press it down. Get another couple. And then I like to take the rest of the last dough and just make a roll out of it. And you can do that by pressing your thumb underneath like that, then turning. I'm going to show you again. Make sure you got some flour on your hands. But you're going to use your thumb and go press it kind of under there and roll. If you see a place that needs to be tucked, you know, like that has a crease in it where the dough went together, you want it to be nice and pretty and flat on the top. See how pretty that is? And this is such light and fluffy dough because we did sift it. These are going to be beautiful biscuits. And we're going to butter our preheated skillet. And I've already turned the eye off. Just once it gets good and hot, you can just go ahead and turn it off. And make sure you go up the sides. Make sure you get the sides because the biscuits are going to rise and stick to the sides if you don't. Because these biscuits are going to rise up real pretty, especially since we sifted the flour. Now we're going to place our biscuits in there. And sometimes you may have a few extra, and if you do, you can freeze them and have them on a rainy day. Like I've got a couple of extra, so you can actually just take your extra biscuits and put them in the freezer with some parchment or wax paper. Okay, so you can see our pretty biscuits. Now we're about to pull out some that we've already made that are coming out of the oven right now. You're going to bake these, let me go ahead and tell you that. You're going to bake these at 450 degrees for 20 minutes, right in the center of the oven. And when they come out, they're going to look like this. So I'm going to show y'all one. Woo, it's hot. It's nice and tall and fluffy, nice and brown on the bottom. And if you don't like them this brown on the bottom, you can just not preheat your skillet. But I like to preheat the skillet because I'm for sure going to get my biscuits done that way. Now you can just take some butter and melt it on the top of each one. And I'm going to show you how beautiful these are. We're going to have it with some We Grew Up Eating Golden Eagle table syrup. Okay, we're going to taste these biscuits. This is one of my favorite ways to eat one, and that is using Golden Eagle table syrup with some butter. So let's get a biscuit ready. We're going to put it on the plate, open it up, and you can see how light and fluffy and airy that is in there. You don't want your biscuits to be dense. I actually seen somebody make biscuits today. She was making about the same amount that I just did, and she used a whole cup of shortening. And let me say this, her biscuits you might think taste good, but I'm sure they're really dense and heavy. So you don't really want your biscuits to be dense and heavy. You want them to be light and fluffy, okay? And they're also more dense and heavy when you freeze them, especially the frozen ones you can buy in the store. If you think they're good, you've forgotten how good a real homemade biscuit tastes. This is how we eat ours. I also like them with gravy and cantaloupe. Get you some table syrup, put it on your plate. Now my husband, I'll show you how he does his. Instead of buttering it like that, he actually takes his butter and he mixes it in with his syrup. That's the way he likes to eat his. Just like that. And everybody has their favorite ways of doing stuff. And nothing makes a biscuit any better than White Lily self-rising flour and, believe it or not, shortening. It's divine. Nothing's better, y'all. I hope today we've made a video from start to finish that will really show you guys how to make the best Collard Valley biscuit ever. Bye, y'all.